Wealth, security, and opportunity are a byproduct of success. However, it often comes at the expense of deep personal satisfaction and happiness. This is the Design Your Destiny podcast, and I am your host, Penny Chason, board-certified hypnotist and #1 international best-selling author. I work with the highly successful influencers, business leaders, corporate leaders who desire a life by design. In this podcast, I will bring to you succinct solo episodes and interviews that dissect the challenges of success and highlights the ways to leverage your most underutilized asset, your subconscious mind. If you desire peace and happiness in your life, better health, and stronger relationships so you can enjoy the success that you have created, keep listening because this podcast is for you. Hey, is it time for you to go from perfectionism to peace? It's Penny, and I'm back with another episode of Design Your Destiny, and we're going to dive into perfectionism today. So if you're new to listening to me, I do not script these episodes. I don't sit here and I have bullet points because I share based off of my experience from thousands of sessions with clients who are looking to have a more fulfilling life and, to be able to do that while creating a successful business, while creating wealth, because we can have both. And I think to some degree, we can fall into the trap of the old, I'm going to say it, patriarchal paradigm that you have to hard work, hustle, and you have to sacrifice to have wealth and success. That simply is not true. It depends on how you choose to structure and follow your life. But back to perfectionism now, okay? Perfectionism is one of these things that is a protective mechanism within a mind. We're wired to survive or thrive. And somewhere along the way, the brain, the mind, has made this subconscious association that perfectionism leads to us getting some need that we have met. It is a protective mechanism, and it really grinds my gears. Grinds my gears to see coaches and therapists and mentors out there telling people, oh, well, you just need to know your style and optimize your style and learn to live with it. Hell no. Who wants to live with perfectionism? Who wants to know that each and every day when you get ready to do something, there is something in the back of your mind that you constantly have to be aware of and manage so that you're not spinning your wheels, that you're not taking action, that you're not moving forward, because once again, you've subconsciously slipped into this habit of perfectionism. Because perfectionism, for some people, perfectionism is a subconsciously perceived way to be loved, right? Now, you and I as adults, we know you don't have to be perfect to be loved, right? But this is a subconscious misassociation. It's an interpretation, a perception was made in the blink of an eye, and the mind made an incorrect association. These incorrect associations may happen early in life. They may happen later in life. As we are faced with challenges and issues in our life, our brain starts going through the Rolodex of experiences. And it's like, okay, what do I do to avoid this? And then we have this one instance where when we did this thing, like maybe we got an A plus and everyone was so proud of us and they showered us with attention. And then the brain goes, oh, I have to have an A plus to get affection the way that I need it. I'm going to veer off track here for just a second, but not really off track. If you've never read The 5 Love Languages, I encourage you to get that book and read it. I encourage you to take the quiz. See what your love language is, because in my experience, for a very large percentage of people, these incorrect associations are based off of love languages. Our love language is how we perceive if we're loved, accepted, and good enough. Our love language. Our parents could bestow love on us till the cows come home, but if their way of bestowing love was acts of service, a roof over your head, food in your mouth, you get to go to all the games, you get to participate in all the sports. So if it was acts of service, right? I'm providing for you, I'm giving you this, I'm giving you that, I'm giving you this opportunity, right? But your love language is physical touch, and your parents were never exposed to that. So they don't hug a lot, those kinds of things. If your parent wasn't the type of parent that loved to snuggle with you on the couch when you watched a movie when you were a kid, we can incorrectly, at a core level, our mind is perceiving that a need is not being met. And I know that feels insane, but it is. So then you get this A plus on a test or a project, and you are just heaped with love and affection and congratulations and hugs, and you're getting that physical touch that you need to feel your love. Then down the road, right, something happens and we're having a need that's not being met, and the brain goes, oh, wait a minute, when I got the A plus, my needs were being met. Let me get the A plus. So then subconsciously, in order to avoid an unpleasant situation, your mind deploys the mechanism of perfectionism. Now, that's not the only way that happens. Sometimes perfectionism comes in. We can have there can be a range of situations, okay? I'm going to give some examples. This list is by no means not all inclusive. There are people who experience trauma in their life. Maybe their parents argue a lot. Maybe they have a parent who experiences substance abuse. Maybe one child is really, really sick in the family and the other child is very healthy, okay? And in any of these situations, the person might perceive, okay, maybe I need to be perfect. So mom is stressed with a really sick kid. The other kid is like, oh, mom, I don't like to see mom sad and upset. If I'm a really good girl or I'm a really good boy, then mom's not stressed, right? So it has nothing to do with them. The perfectionism, the being perfect comes from wanting to protect someone else. That happens too. In the case of a parent who's a yeller, a screamer, maybe there's mental, emotional, verbal abuse, there's alcoholism, whatever the case may be, then we learn that to be perfect means to not draw negative attention. We avoid the yelling, we avoid the outburst, we keep the peace, right? And then later in life, what happens is that perfectionism becomes a means of avoiding something unpleasant. Perfectionism can also come from, a little bit later, being in school and having a very unpleasant interaction, like in class. Maybe the teacher scolds you, or maybe you get a wrong answer, and in that moment you decide, I'm never going to get a wrong answer again because everybody in class laughed at you. I know these things seem, some of them minor, some of them not, but they impact the way our subconscious mind operates to survive and to thrive. These ways of operating become habits, not just a protective mechanism, not just a belief, but also a habit. And this is why it's so important. If you're having issues with perfectionism and it's truly impacting your performance and those things, the first thing you have to do is you have to develop an awareness and recognize when it's happening, because perfectionism can be a habit and not be a belief, right? So if it's a pure habit, it's going to be pretty easy to overcome, but it's going to take some consistency. And where that can come from is a very high value skill is or quality or characteristic is a quest for perfection. The quest for perfection is not the same as perfectionism. Okay, the quest for perfection is just always looking to grow and evolve yourself, your brand, whatever, right? Because perfection doesn't exist. Perfectionism is when we feel it's not good enough, we're not good enough, we can't do it until it is perfect, right? And perfectionism is just, it's something that's really, it doesn't feel very healthy. So perfectionism can start as a habit where you're trying to make things perfect. You understand the purpose of making things better, but it becomes perfectionism when it comes to the point that we're not getting anything done. We're getting in our own way. Stuff isn't happening because we're caught in this place. So the first thing is to get your awareness and like, oh, I'm doing this again. If it's a habit and nothing more, and there's no emotion behind it, you're like, why am I doing this again? And if you're not experiencing fear, if you're not thinking, what if it's not good enough? If you're not thinking, well, what is my audience going to think? If you're not thinking, well, this whole launch is going to fail if I don't get this done, this product is going to fail. If you're not caught up in that fear response and it's just, and you're like, oh, I don't need to do that. What is my minimum criteria for putting this out? Check, check, check. Let's move. Let's go next thing. But if it's a protective mechanism and there is a belief under there, you're going to be having those thoughts and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I can't put this out there. What are people going to think? You start feeling emotions in your body. Then it's time to explore something different that might be there, right? Because this can spill over into a lot of areas of your life and you don't even realize it. And, it can affect the way that you interact with your children, your expectations of your children, your expectations of people around you. So this is about more than your business. This is about more than what you're creating in the world. This is about you. It's about your life. It's about fulfillment. And you do not, I'm going to say it again, you do not have to live with perfectionism. It's not something that you have to manage. It's not something you have to be afraid of. It is something that you can neutralize and let go of. It's just about removing these associations that perfectionism has anything to do with who you are as a person, and to get rid of this idea that it's serving you in a positive way and protecting you from that tiger hiding out in the bush, because our brain just doesn't know the difference in what we're facing in everyday stress and what we're facing in our life and business. The stress response is the stress response. It just doesn't know. So if you're ready to stop living with perfectionism, if that's something that's getting in your way, I would love to have a chat. There might be some way that I could support you. I work with clients in a number of different ways, one-on-one and in group. All you have to do is book a call. You and I can chat. We can see if you feel like I'm someone that you would like to work with. I can get an idea if you're someone that I can help win and overcome this in your life, and then we can move forward from there. All you have to do is go to the website, pennychason.com, go to the Work With Me page, and fill out, it's really not even an application, just a couple of short questions, and then book your call, and let's have a chat. It's 30 minutes that will change your life. I've never had anyone get off of that 30-minute call and not have some value out of it. So if you're ready to do this work, if you're ready to make that investment in yourself, be it one-on-one or group, and it's time for things to change, then I would love to chat with you, because there is something so magnificent and something so much better on the other side of perfectionism and people pleasing and all of these things that can happen. And once we can tap into the identity of the person that we desire to be, the future that we desire to create, that's when we can begin to pull away and release all of these things that are not in line with that. I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to this episode of Design Your Destiny. I would love to know what resonated most with you. So just take a screenshot of this episode, share it over on your Instagram stories, and tag me at penny.chason and let me know what you thought. Also, if you head over to iTunes and you leave a positive review, it helps this podcast to help reach even more people, making a difference, elevating humanity and mankind.